The rescue from Nexus Station. The neon signs of Nexus Station cast harsh shadows across Captain Maya Chen's face as she made her way through the crowded lower markets. The recycled air carried the familiar mix of engine exhaust and processed food that marked every frontier station, but something felt different tonight. The usual buzz of commerce had an edge to it, voices pitched lower, deals made in darker corners. "Captain, we should head back to the ship," First Officer James Torres whispered, his hand hovering near his concealed sidearm. "The cargo's loaded, and this sector's getting twitchy." Maya nodded but didn't turn around. 20 years of running independent cargo had taught her to trust her instincts, and right now every one of them was screaming that something was wrong. 5 more minutes, Torres. I want to check out that crowd ahead." The gathering of beings ahead had drawn representatives from a dozen species, all clustering around a makeshift platform. Maya's stomach turned as she realized what she was seeing. A slave auction, illegal in civilized space, but tolerated in frontier stations like Nexus. She was about to turn away when a flash of silver caught her eye. On the platform stood a tall, graceful figure with metallic skin that seemed to ripple like quicksilver. The alien's 4 eyes, deep violet and filled with intelligence, scanned the crowd with barely concealed disdain. "That's a Lysian," Torres breathed. "I thought they were all dead after the Cascade War." Maya had heard the same. The Lysians had been legendary diplomats, their natural empathic abilities making them uniquely suited to navigating the complex politics of interstellar relations. But their homeworld had been destroyed in the war, and the survivors had vanished into the depths of space. The auctioneer, a corpulent Vexian with too many arms, started the bidding. A genuine Lysian diplomat, sold by her own government to cover war debts. Think of the advantages, friends, your very own empath to help navigate those tricky business deals. Maya's fists clenched. The story was obviously false. Lysians would never sell one of their own. This was something else, something worse. She watched as the alien's silver skin dulled to a matte gray, a sign of deep distress in her species. "Torres, what's our current credit balance?" Her first officer's eyes widened. "Captain, you can't be serious. We're barely breaking even as it is." "What's our balance?" 200,000 credits, but that's meant for fuel and supplies for the next 3 runs. Maya did some quick mental math. It would be cutting it close, desperately close. But she couldn't walk away, not from this. The bidding was approaching 150,000 when Maya raised her hand. The auctioneer's eye stalks swiveled toward her. 175, she called out. A murmur ran through the crowd. The price was already well above market rate for a slave, even an exotic one. But Maya had seen something in those violet eyes. Intelligence, yes, but also vital information. This was no ordinary diplomat. 200,000, came a gravelly voice from the back. Maya recognized the speaker, a Carthian information broker known for extracting secrets from his acquisitions by any means necessary. Maya closed her eyes for a moment. What she was about to do would put her ship, her crew, and her business at risk. But sometimes you had to roll the hard 6. 250,000, she declared, her voice ringing with more confidence than she felt. The crowd fell silent. Even the auctioneer seemed taken aback. 250 going once, twice, sold to the human captain. As Maya approached the platform to complete the transaction, the Lysian's eyes locked onto hers. For a moment, Maya felt a gentle brush against her consciousness, the legendary empathic touch of the Lysian people. In that brief contact, she caught fragments of urgent information, danger, pursuit, vital data, hope. "I'm Maya Chen," she said softly as she helped the alien down from the platform. "What's your name?" The Lysian's skin rippled with subtle patterns of silver and blue. "I am called Zara," she replied in perfect standard. "And you, Captain Chen, have just involved yourself in something far more dangerous than a simple slave purchase." Maya managed a wry smile. "Story of my life. Come on, Let's get you to my ship before anyone changes their mind. As they made their way through the station's winding corridors, Maya kept one eye on their surroundings and one on their new passenger. Zara moved with fluid grace despite her restraints, her silver skin now showing traces of deep purple, worry, perhaps, or anticipation. Taurus, get to the ship and start pre-flight checks, Maya ordered. I have a feeling you'll want to leave quickly. What have you gotten us into this time, Captain? He asked, but he was already moving. With any luck? Maya replied, guiding Zara through a maintenance shortcut. We just saved someone who needed saving, and with less luck. Well, let's just say the next few days should be interesting. She didn't know it yet, but interesting would prove to be an enormous understatement. Breaking chains. The starship Artemis slipped away from Nexus Station with deceptive calm, its engines humming at the lowest possible output. Maya stood on the bridge, watching the massive structure recede through the view screen, while her fingers drummed an anxious rhythm on the captain's chair. Status report, she called out, eyes fixed on the sensor readings. No pursuit detected, Torres responded from his station, but there's increased chatter on the emergency channels. Someone stirred up a hornet's nest. Maya nodded grimly. Maintain low power until we clear the outer markers. Then punch it for the Cassandra drift. She turned to their new passenger, who stood studying the bridge controls with obvious fascination. Ready to tell me what kind of trouble we're really in. Zora's silver skin rippled with bands of deep blue, a color Maya was beginning to associate with concern. Your ship's security protocols. Best in the sector, had them upgraded by a paranoid Travaction last year. They won't be enough. Zora's full violet eyes fixed on Maya. The people pursuing me have resources beyond your imagination. I was not sold by my government, Captain Chen. I was betrayed by those who fear what I know. The ship's comm system crackled to life before Maya could respond. Unidentified vessel, this is Nexus Station Control. Return to dock immediately. You are carrying stolen property. Stolen property. Maya's eyebrows shot up. I have a verified transaction record. The sale has been retroactively invalidated. Return now or face consequences. Maya's hand hovered over the ship's controls. Torres, how long until we can jump? 3 minutes to clear the gravity well. Make it 2. She turned to Zara. Last chance. What am I risking my ship and crew for? Zara's skin shifted to a deep gold. Determination, perhaps. I am carrying vital intelligence about a planned attack on the human alliance. My capture was meant to prevent this information from reaching your government. Maya cursed under her breath as the first warning shot streaked past their bow. Of course it couldn't be something simple. She hit the ship-wide comm. All hands, atoll stations. This is not a drill. The Artemis engines roared to life as Maya pushed them to full power. Behind them, 3 pursuit vessels launched from Nexus Station, sleek, dangerous ships designed for catching runners. They're targeting our engines, Torres reported, his fingers flying over the tactical display. Military-grade weapons, Captain. Maya's mind raced. The Artemis was a fast ship, but she wasn't built for combat. They needed an edge. Zara, that empathic ability of your people, how does it work with technology? We can sense patterns, flows of energy, Zara replied, but I don't see. Can you tell when they're about to fire? A pause, and understanding dawned in those alien eyes. Zara stepped forward, placing her hands on the sensor panel. Her skin began to pulse with waves of silver light. Port side, high angle, she called out. Now. Maya yanked the controls, and the Artemis rolled just as a plasma burst passed through the space they'd occupied. Now that's what I call cooperation. Tourist, time to jump. 90 seconds. The dance continued, Zara calling out attack vectors seconds before they manifested, Maya weaving the ship through the deadly ballet. The Artemis shuddered under near misses, but nothing landed a solid hit. Jump in 30 seconds, Torres announced. But Captain, they're charging something big. Maya saw it too, a massive energy build-up in the lead pursuit vessel, Zara. The Lysian's skin had paled to almost white. It's a neural disruptor. If it hits us, everyone drops dead, got it? Maya's jaw set in a hard line. They couldn't dodge this one. The blast radius would be too wide. Unless... Torres, drop our aft shields and divert all power to engines on my mark. Captain, that's suicide. Trust me. Maya's eyes met Zara's. Both of you. The pursuit ship's weapon reached critical charge. Maya could almost feel the energy building, ready to reduce their brains to soup. Now. The Artemis engines flared brilliant blue as every scrap of power poured into them. At the same instant, the neural disruptor fired, but the massive burst of energy from their engines scattered the weapon's carefully calibrated frequencies. The blast washed over them harmless. Jump, Maya shouted. The stars stretched into lines, and then they were gone, leaving their pursuers behind in a flash of pseudo-motion. The bridge crew let out a collective breath. That, Torres said shakily, was either brilliant or insane. Thin line between the two. Maya turned to Zara, who was studying her with an unreadable expression. So, about that intelligence you're carrying. First, Zara interrupted, her skin shifting to a deep rose color Maya hadn't seen before. I believe I owe you an explanation. The attack I mentioned is real, but it's not the only reason they want me. I was the chief diplomatic architect of the Lysian Emergency Council. Maya whistled softly. The government in exile. Yes, we've been gathering evidence of collaboration between certain elements in the human alliance and the forces that destroyed our homeworld, the same forces that are now planning to strike at Earth itself. The temperature on the bridge seemed to drop several degrees. That's quite a bombshell, Maya said carefully. Any proof? Zara tapped her temple. In here, Lysian memory crystals, biotechnology embedded in my neural pathways. Undetectable, unhackable, and absolutely damning to some very powerful people. Which is why they couldn't risk killing you, Torres realized. They needed you alive to extract the data. Correct. And now you understand the danger you're in, Captain Chen. We should part ways at the next port. I can't ask you to. Stop right there. Maya held up a hand. First, you didn't ask. I volunteered. Second, I don't leave jobs half-finished. If Earth's in danger, we're seeing this through. Zara's skin rippled with complex patterns of gold and silver. You'd risk everything. For a stranger? For a cause that isn't yours. Maya smiled grimly. Welcome to humanity, Ambassador. Sometimes we surprise even ourselves. She turned to the helm. Set course for the outer colonies. If we're going to expose a conspiracy, we'll need help from people who specialize in causing trouble. As the Artemis cruised through hyperspace, Maya caught Zara studying her with those fascinating violet eyes. Something on your mind? I'm trying to understand, the Lysian said softly. My people pride ourselves on reading others, yet humans constantly defy our expectations. You especially. How so? You saw someone in trouble and acted, regardless of cost or consequence. It's not logical. Maya laughed. Humanity's greatest strength, or our fatal flaw, depending on who you ask. We have a bad habit of doing the right thing even when it's the wrong thing to do. I'm beginning to understand why some fear your species, Zara mused, her skin showing traces of that mysterious rose color again. Oh, Maya raised an eyebrow. And what do you feel? Hope, Zara replied simply. The word hung between them as the Artemis raced through the darkness, carrying its crew toward dangers unknown, and perhaps, if they were very lucky, toward justice long delayed. Learning to trust. The Artemis recreation deck was quiet during the ship's night cycle, making it perfect for private conversations. Maya sat across from Zara, watching the Lysian's silver skin shimmer in the starlight streaming through the observation windows. So, Maya said, sliding a cup of synthesized tea across the table, Tell me about these people we're going to meet. The shadow break network. Zora's skin rippled with patterns Maya was beginning to recognize as thoughtfulness. They're what you humans might call information brokers, specialists in exposing corruption across multiple governments. Whistleblowers with teeth, Torres added from his position by the door. He'd insisted on being present for security briefings, trust only extending so far. An apt description. Zora's 4 eyes focused on the swirling tea. They helped evacuate thousands of my people during the fall of Lycia, documenting war crimes that certain parties would prefer to forget. Maya leaned forward. The same parties planning to attack Earth. Yes, the hegemony presents itself as a peacekeeping force, but there, Zora stopped suddenly, her skin blanching to pale grey. Her hands gripped the table. Zora. Maya reached for her instinctively. The memory crystals, Zora gasped. They're degrading. The neural pathways, I can feel them breaking down. Taurus was already calling medical on his comm unit, but Maya knew their small ship's doctor wouldn't have experience with Lysian biotechnology. How long? Days, maybe less. Zora's skin slowly regained its normal silver hue, but Maya could see faint tremors running through it. The crystals weren't meant for long-term storage. They need to be transferred to a secure database, or the evidence will be lost. Along with your memories, Maya asked softly. Zora met her eyes. An acceptable sacrifice to prevent war. Like hell it is. Maya stood up, her mind racing. Torres, new course. We're heading to Sanctuary Station. Both her first officer and their Lysian guest stared at her. Captain, Torres said carefully, Sanctuary Station is the most advanced medical research facility in human space, yes. Also the most heavily defended, which we'll need since half the sector's probably hunting us by now. They'll never let us dock, Zora protested. The station's neutrality protocols will work in our favor. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Because we're not going as fugitives, we're going as patients with very expensive insurance. She pulled up the ship's secure comm system and entered a code she'd hoped never to use. After several tense moments, a holographic figure materialized above the table, an elegant woman in her 60s with steel-grey hair and Maya's sharp features. Hello, Mother. Admiral Chen's hologram raised an eyebrow. Maya, I assume this isn't a social call. Remember when you said I'd never amount to anything running dubious cargo in the outer systems? Maya's grin turned fierce. Well, I just stumbled onto a conspiracy that could start an interstellar war. Want to help your disappointment of a daughter save Earth. The Admiral's other eyebrow joined the first. I'm listening. Over the next hour, they laid out the situation. The Admiral's expression grew progressively grimmer as Zora explained about the memory crystals and the hegemony's true nature. This is consistent with some disturbing intelligence we've received, the Admiral finally admitted, but we've lacked concrete evidence. Which is dying in my head as we speak, Zora said quietly. The Admiral studied the Lysian for a long moment. I'll have Sanctuary Station prepare for your arrival. Full diplomatic courtesy and medical priority. She turned to Maya. And daughter? Try not to start any wars before you get there. The hologram winked out. Maya let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Your mother is not what I expected, Zora said. That makes 2 of us. Maya checked their course calculations. Taurus, get us moving. I want to be at Sanctuary before anyone realizes where we're headed. As Taurus left to brief the crew, Maya noticed Zara swaying slightly. You should rest. The doctor can give you something for the pain. I'm fine, Zara insisted, but her skin had taken on that worrying grey tinge again. You're not fine, and I need you functional when we reach Sanctuary. Maya stepped closer, lowering her voice. Let me help, please. Something flickered in those violet eyes. You've already helped more than I could have hoped. Why do you continue to risk so much? Maya considered her answer carefully. Because sometimes doing the right thing isn't about logic or profit. Sometimes it's about looking at someone in trouble and thinking, not on my watch. Even if that someone is an alien you barely know. Especially then, shows we're growing as a species. Maya smiled. Besides, I'm getting to know you better every day. Zara's skin shifted to that fascinating rose color again. Yes, she said softly, you are. The moment stretched between them, filled with unspoken possibilities. Then Zara stumbled, the neural degradation taking its toll. Maya caught her, supporting her weight. That's it. Doctor's orders, and I'm the captain, so I can give those. Zara didn't resist as Maya helped her to the medical bay. The ship's doctor, a pragmatic woman named Rivera, quickly prepared a bed and administered what pain medication she dared with Lysian physiology. Stay, Zara asked as the medication began to take effect. Her hand found Maya's, cool silver fingers intertwining with human ones. Maya pulled up a chair, not going anywhere. As Zara drifted into uneasy sleep, Maya studied their joined hands, human and Lysian, so different yet somehow fitting together perfectly. Like the universe had a sense of humor about these things. The ship's comm chimed softly. Captain, Torres' voice was tight with concern. We're picking up multiple ships on long-range sensors, military configurations. Maya's jaw clenched, but she didn't let go of Zara's hand. Hegemony. Looks like it. They must have figured out our destination. Time to Sanctuary Station. 6 hours at maximum burn. Maya looked down at Zara's sleeping form, watching the patterns of distress moving under her silver skin. Push the engines harder. We need to make it in 5. That'll damage the containment systems. Better than the alternative. Maya's voice was steel. No one's dying on my watch. Not today. As the Artemis engines screamed in protest, pushing them towards sanctuary and danger in equal measure, Maya kept her vigil. She'd meant what she said about doing the right thing. But she was beginning to suspect her reasons weren't entirely about justice anymore. Race against time. Sanctuary Station gleamed against the backdrop of space like a pearl set in black velvet. Its massive medical towers and research facilities formed an intricate latticework of white and silver, protected by defense platforms that made it look like a flower ringed with thorns. Maya stood at the Artemis helm, dividing her attention between the approaching station and the pursuit fleet closing in behind them. Status of the containment systems. Critical, Torres reported grimly. We're venting plasma from the starboard nacelle. 10 minutes maximum before total engine failure. Won't need 10 minutes. Maya opened a channel. Sanctuary Control, this is Captain Chen of the Artemis, requesting emergency medical docking under Protocol 7 Alpha. The response was immediate. Artemis, maintain your approach vector. Defense platforms are tracking multiple hostile vessels in your wake. Yes, I noticed them, Maya said dryly. About that docking clearance. Confirmed, Captain. Bay 17, medical priority. Defense grid is powering up. Behind them, the hegemony fleet was spreading out into an attack formation. Maya had to admire their determination, if not their timing. Attacking a neutral medical station would be an act of war, but they seemed prepared to risk it. The ship's doctor appeared on the bridge. Captain, the patient's condition is deteriorating rapidly. The neural degradation is accelerating. Maya's hands tightened on the controls. How long? An hour, maybe less. Whatever you're planning, it needs to happen fast. A warning klaxon blared through the ship. Multiple missile launches detected, Torres shouted. They're really doing it. They're attacking the station. The space around them erupted in light as Sanctuary's defense grid engaged. Energy beams lanced out, intercepting the incoming missiles. But some would get through. But hegemony hadn't become a power in the galaxy by being easy to stop. New plan, Maya announced. Taurus, divert all remaining power to the forward shields. We're going to punch through. That'll burn out the engines completely. Better than being dead. Maya opened the ship-wide comm. All hands, brace for impact. Medical, secure the patient. This is going to get rough. The Artemis screamed through space, its engines pushing far beyond safety limits. Behind them, the hegemony fleet opened fire with everything they had. Ahead, Sanctuary's defense grid created a web of covering fire, but the gap they had to thread was narrowing by the second. A hit rocked the ship, sending cascading damage reports across every screen. Port shield failing, Torres called out. We can't take another direct. Look. The exclamation came from the doctor, who was pointing at something through the forward viewport. From the station's largest medical tower, a massive energy field was expanding outward, the legendary Sanctuary shield, never before activated in the station's history. All vessels, this is Admiral Chen. A familiar voice boomed across all frequencies. You are engaging in hostile action against a neutral medical facility. Stand down immediately or be destroyed. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Thanks, Mom. The shield enveloped the Artemis just as another barrage of enemy fire arrived. The impacts dissipated harmlessly against the advanced barrier. Behind them, the hegemony fleet was quickly discovering why attacking Sanctuary Station was considered suicidal. Defense platforms that had been merely warning shots before were now unleashing their full potential. Docking clamps engaged, Torres reported as they slid into Bay 17. We're secure. Maya was already moving. Dr. Rivera, have Zara ready for transport. Torres, download all sensor data from the attack. We'll need evidence of their violation of neutrality laws. Everyone else, prepare for emergency evacuation if this goes sideways. She reached the medical bay just as a team of station doctors arrived. Zara was conscious, but barely, her silver skin now a dull grey shot through with disturbing black lines. Maya. Zara reached out weakly as they transferred her to a hover gurney. The crystals, you have to. Save your strength. Maya took her hand, noting with alarm how cold it felt. I'm not leaving your side until this is done. The next hour passed in a blur of activity. The station's medical facilities were like something from science fiction, even to someone used to traveling the galaxy. Maya watched through an observation window as teams of human and alien doctors worked to stabilize Zara's condition while simultaneously trying to extract the degrading memory crystals. Admiral Chen appeared beside her, somehow managing to look perfectly composed despite the ongoing battle outside. The hegemony fleet is retreating. Apparently, they didn't expect quite so much resistance. They're desperate, Maya said, not taking her eyes off the medical bay. Whatever evidence Zara has must be damning. Speaking of evidence, the Admiral's voice took on a familiar, stern tone. Want to explain why you never told me you were running cover-tops in the outer systems? Maya finally turned to look at her mother. Want to explain why you never told me you were coordinating with the Lysian resistance? They stared at each other for a long moment before both smiled slightly, like daughter, like mother. The data extraction is complete, a doctor announced, approaching them. We've managed to stabilize the ambassador's condition, but, Maya prompted, her heart racing. The neural damage was extensive. We can repair it, but she may never recover all of her memories. The person she was. The doctor spread his hands helplessly. Maya's throat tightened, but she'll live. Yes, though she'll need time to recover, to rebuild. Then we'll help her rebuild. Maya's voice was firm, whatever it takes. The Admiral studied her daughter with new understanding. You care for her. It wasn't a question, but Maya answered anyway. She believed humans could be better than our reputation. I'm just trying to prove her right. Captain Chen. A junior officer approached quickly. The ambassador is asking for you. Maya entered the medical room, steeling herself for what she might find. Zara lay on a bed surrounded by monitoring equipment, her silver skin slowly regaining some of its luster. Her 4 violet eyes focused on Maya as she approached. Did they get the data? Zara's voice was weak but clear. Yes, The hegemony's secrets are out. Earth is safe. Maya took her hand gently. How much do you remember? Fragments. Pieces. Zora's skin rippled with confusion. But I remember you. Remember feeling safe. Understood. A hint of rose colored her silver skin. Cared for. Maya smiled, blinking back unexpected tears. Well, that's a start. We can work on the rest together, if you want. Together, Zora repeated softly. I'd like that. Outside the station's windows, the last of the hegemony ships vanished into hyperspace. Changes were coming to the galaxy, secrets revealed, alliances shifted, old wrongs finally addressed. But in that quiet medical room, none of that seemed to matter as much as the simple fact of two hands clasped together, silver and pink, neither willing to let go. Diplomatic crisis. 3 days after the battle at Sanctuary Station, Maya found herself in a situation more terrifying than any firefight, a formal diplomatic conference. The station's largest meeting chamber was filled with representatives from 24 species, all gathered to hear the evidence extracted from Zora's memory crystals. Maya tugged uncomfortably at her dress uniform, a concession to her mother's insistence on protocol. Beside her, Zora stood tall despite her recent ordeal, her silver skin gleaming under the chamber's lights. She'd recovered enough to walk, though Maya noticed the occasional tremor that suggested she was pushing herself too hard. Ready, Maya whispered. Zora's skin rippled with determination. As I'll ever be. Her voice was stronger now, though some words still came with difficulty, a lingering effect of the neural damage. Admiral Chen stepped onto the central platform, her presence commanding immediate attention. Representatives of the Galactic Council, we are here today to present evidence of crimes against sentient beings, conspiracy to commit war crimes, and violation of multiple peace treaties. The chamber's holographic systems activated, displaying the first fragments of recovered data. Maya watched as faces around the room shifted from diplomatic neutrality to shock, then anger, as the truth of the hegemony's actions became clear. Images of the attack on Lysia played out in brutal detail, not a natural disaster as claimed, but a carefully orchestrated genocide. Communications logs showed high-ranking hegemony officials coordinating with corrupt elements within the human alliance, planning similar accidents for other worlds that opposed their expansion. The planned attack on Earth, Admiral Chen continued, was to be blamed on surviving Lysian refugees, providing an excuse for the hegemony to establish a peacekeeping presence in human space. A hegemony representative stood, his scales flushing with anger or embarrassment. These allegations are baseless. This is clearly fabricated evidence. The memory crystals, Zora interrupted, her voice carrying clearly despite its weakness, are encoded with quantum signatures unique to each individual. They cannot be falsified. She stepped forward, and Maya resisted the urge to support her. I witnessed these events personally as chief diplomatic architect. I watched my world burn while your leaders celebrated their successful operation. The chamber erupted into chaos as dozens of representatives began speaking at once. Maya noticed several hegemony delegates quietly leaving the room, probably rushing to contact their superiors. Admiral Chen called for order, but Maya's attention was on Zora. The Lysian skin had taken on a grayish tinge, and she was swaying slightly. That's enough, Maya whispered, taking her arm. You've done your part. Not yet, Zora insisted. They need to understand. Her legs gave out. Maya caught her before she could fall, not caring about the spectacle they were creating. Medical team to the conference chamber, she called into her com. As they waited for help to arrive, Zora looked up at Maya with all four eyes. I'm sorry, I wanted to be stronger. You're the strongest person I know, Maya replied firmly. But even the strong need help sometimes. The medical team arrived quickly, transferring Zora to a hover stretcher. Maya moved to follow, but her mother's voice stopped her. Captain Chen, we need your testimony about the events at Nexus Station. Maya looked between the Admiral and the medical team. Her mother's expression softened slightly. "Go," Admiral Chen said. "I'll handle things here. Some battles are more important than others." Maya nodded gratefully and hurried after Zara. In the medical bay, she watched as doctors administered treatments to stabilize the lesion's neural patterns. "You don't have to stay," Zara said softly, her skin showing traces of that now familiar rose color. "I know you have duties. My duty right now is making sure you don't push yourself into a relapse." Maya pulled up a chair. "Besides, I've had enough politics for one day," says the woman who helped expose a galactic conspiracy. A hint of humor colored Zara's voice. "That was different. That was just doing the right thing. All this diplomatic maneuvering." Maya made a face. "I'll leave that to the professionals." "And what will you do now?" Zara asked, her tone carefully neutral. "With the conspiracy exposed, your mission is technically complete." Maya studied their hands, which had somehow found each other again. "Funny thing about missions, there's always another one waiting. For instance, I hear the Lysian refugees will need help rebuilding, setting up new colonies, establishing trade routes." "That sounds like a long-term commitment." "Well, I happen to know this amazing diplomatic architect who might be willing to help. Once she's properly recovered, of course." Zara's skin rippled with complex patterns of silver and rose. "And if this architect's memories never fully return, then we'll make new ones." Maya squeezed her hand gently. "Better ones." A comfortable silence fell between them, broken only by the soft beeping of medical equipment. Outside the medical bay's windows, Maya could see ships arriving from across the galaxy, allies coming to stand with humanity and the Lysians against hegemony aggression. Change was coming to the stars, whether the old powers liked it or not. "Maya." Zara's voice was drowsy, the medications taking effect. "Thank you for saving me, for believing in me, for everything." Maya smiled. "Get some rest, Ambassador. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day." As Zara drifted off to sleep, her skin glowing softly with contentment, Maya reflected on the strange paths that had led them here. A routine cargo run turned rescue mission turned galactic crisis turned something else, something unexpected but increasingly precious. The Artemis would need repairs before they could head back out into the black, but that was okay. For the first time in years, Maya Chen wasn't in a hurry to leave port. She had found something worth staying for, a new future. 2 months after the revelations at Sanctuary Station, the Artemis hovered in high orbit above humanity's first joint colony with the Lysian refugees. The planet's twin suns painted the landscape in shades of gold and amber, its vast plains and pristine oceans promising a fresh start for two peoples united by circumstance. Maya stood on the observation deck, watching the first settlement ships descend through the atmosphere. The colony had been named Haven, a bit on the nose, perhaps, but fitting. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Zora's voice came from behind her. Maya turned to find the Lysian ambassador looking better than she had in weeks. Her silver skin had regained its full luster, though faint traces of the neural scarring remained visible in certain lights, a permanent reminder of what they'd survived together. "The view or the company?" Maya asked with a smile. "Both." Zora moved to stand beside her, their shoulders touching. "The medical team has cleared me for full diplomatic duties. It seems I've made a remarkable recovery." "Don't sound so surprised. You're remarkably stubborn when you want to be." Zora's skin rippled with amusement, a trait I seem to have picked up from certain human influences. The ship's comm system chimed softly. "Captain, Torres call from the bridge. The first wave of colonists is reporting successful landing. They're requesting your presence for the official groundbreaking ceremony." Maya sighed. "More ceremonies. You'd think saving the galaxy would earn me a break from formal functions." "The price of being a hero," Zora teased. Some of her memories might be gone forever, but her wit had emerged intact from the neural trauma, though I seem to recall someone insisting they were just doing the right thing. And I stand by that. Maya turned to face her companion fully. Speaking of doing the right thing, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Zora's skin shifted to that fascinating rose color that Maya now knew meant anticipation or emotional intensity. Yes, the Artemis needs a permanent diplomatic officer, someone who can help navigate the complexities of this new alliance we're building, someone who understands both human and Lysian perspectives. Maya took a deep breath. Someone I trust completely. Are you offering me a job, Captain Chen? I'm offering you a home, if you want it. Zora was quiet for a long moment, her skin cycling through various colors before settling on a deep, warm gold. My duties as ambassador can be handled from the Artemis just as easily as from a planetary office. We'll be making regular runs between the colony and Earth anyway. Maya gestured at the view below them. Besides, someone needs to keep an eye on this partnership we've built. Make sure both sides live up to their promises. And that someone should be us. Can you think of anyone better? Zora's 4 eyes studied Maya's face intently. You're serious about this? Dead serious. These past 2 months, working together, rebuilding what the hegemony tried to destroy, it's felt right. Like we're exactly where we're supposed to be. Maya reached out, taking Zora's hand. I know there are complications. Cultural differences, biological differences, probably a dozen regulations we'd be bending. Since when has that ever stopped you? Zora's skin was definitely rose-colored now, with hints of gold swirling beneath the surface. Yes, 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 I'll be your diplomatic officer. Yes, I'll make the Artemis my home. Yes to everything else you're not quite saying, but I can feel you thinking. Maya grinned. I thought Lysians couldn't read human minds. We can't, but some humans are easier to read than others. Zora squeezed her hand, especially when they're projecting their emotions strongly enough to light up half the sector. The ship's comm chimed again. Captain, the colonists are waiting. Tell them we'll be right there. Maya looked at their joined hands, human and Lysian, so different yet fitting together perfectly. Ready to help me scandalize 2 species at once. I thought that was what we've been doing since we met. Zora's skin rippled with joy. But yes, I'm ready. They made their way to the shuttle bay hand in hand, ignoring the knowing looks from the crew. As they descended toward Haven's surface, Maya reflected on the strange path that had led them here. A slave auction, a conspiracy, a battle for the future of 2 civilizations, and somehow, in the midst of it all, they found each other. The shuttle touched down in the center of the fledgling colony. Through the viewport, Maya could see the gathered crowds, humans and Lysians standing together, ready to build something new. Her mother was there too, wearing an expression that managed to be both proud and exasperated. Last chance to back out, Maya murmured as they prepared to disembark. Zora's response was to lift their joined hands and plant a gentle kiss on Maya's knuckles. The gesture sent a shiver down Maya's spine. Never, Zora said simply. They stepped out into the golden sunlight of their new world. Above them, the Artemis waited patiently in orbit, their home among the stars. Around them, the future was taking shape, full of possibilities they'd only begun to explore. Maya squeezed Zora's hand as they walked toward the waiting crowd. Whatever came next, they would face it together. And somehow, she knew that would be enough. After all, doing the right thing had led her this far. Why stop now? The end.